Well, good evening. I want to thank the NAACP for hosting this. I think this is an informative and a helpful thing to do, and I'm looking forward to participate. Just a little bit as an introduction, my wife and I moved here to Stafford about 38 years ago, and I've had the high honor of serving in the House of Delegates for the past 28 years, representing Stafford and part of Fredericksburg. And it's indeed been a high honor. In addition to that, I've had the honor of serving as Speaker of the House for the past 13 years. And that means I have to, every 2 years, go through 2 elections. One in Stafford and Fredericksburg to be re-elected, and one to be chosen by my colleagues to serve as Speaker. And I'm proud to say that for the past 7 cycles, when I've been elected as Speaker, I've been elected by a unanimous vote, both Republicans and Democrats. The Virginia is just 90 miles, Richmond is just 90 miles from Washington, D.C., but there's a world of difference between the two. Washington is ridden with debt, deficits, dysfunction, and in Richmond, we have balanced budgets. We have opportunities where both sides work together to accomplish solutions to the problems that are facing Virginia. And I'm quite pleased with what has happened over the past 10 or 15 years, particularly in Virginia, since I've been involved. We have balanced our budget every year. Of course, we're required to by the Constitution, but it's sometimes not easy. This past session, we were facing a $1.5 billion shortfall, and we were able to turn that into a $536 million surplus. And the elections are about the future. I'm looking forward to working with you for another 2 years, I hope, and I ask for your vote and support.
It's an honor to be here with you, all of you, this evening. I appreciate this chance to share my thoughts with you and some of the concerns that I have. Let me start out by introducing myself to you. I was part of a Navy family. My dad, we lived all over the world. I moved to Stafford in 9th grade. I've been in Stafford for over 40 years. I married my husband. We have 2 children, Zach and Carlin, who are Brook Point High School graduates and both graduates of Virginia Tech. I'm also the assistant director at the Child Care Network. I served on the Board of Supervisors, and I'm proud of some of the things that we accomplished during the time that I was on the board. I helped secure $30 million for the preservation of Crow's Nest. We brought the Fred bus system to Stafford County. We made critical investments in our infrastructure. We built 2 new firehouses and put emergency generators in all of the old ones. We continued to build schools, and we built a state-of-the-art communication system in a new public safety building, which was critically needed here in Stafford. Most importantly, we governed with civility because we agreed on basic rules and established common goals so that even when we disagreed, we were able to get along and get work done. I believe we need new leadership in Richmond that represents the needs of the people of our community, not just the needs of big business and special interests. I'm running because the hot lanes cannot be our only answer to traffic in our community. As I stated in the op-ed in yesterday's paper, they're too expensive and the bottleneck is just unacceptable. We need Medicaid expansion in Virginia so that 400,000 people who are without health care have health care. This includes 22,500 veterans and their spouses. I think it's important we bring that. I also believe in the power of public education. We need to invest in our teachers because Richmond has made them wait too long. We also need to reduce our class sizes. And if we expect our kids to compete in the world economy, we have to make sure that they're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. The questions will be pretty quick, and you generally will, you'll be the first one. So in between, you can sit back down or stand up. It'll be your call. The first question came in across the Facebook page, the web page, and I ran into it when I was coming from Aquia tonight to the courthouse, and it took 20 minutes to go 2 miles. So traffic, we all know it's an issue. The question is specifically, what will you do in Richmond to fix it, and how will you pay for that?
When we start talking about traffic, it kind of brings us back to where we need to start, which is we need to expand Medicaid, because we need to increase our budget right from the start. $1.7 billion that we've left on the table, that's a piece of this puzzle. We need to be doing everything in our power to look at different options. Hot lanes isn't the answer. We need an Office of Innovation where we're looking at things that are being done in other countries, in other states, and in other counties to see what other ways we can do things. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We also need to be working with our federal partners. We should be bringing Metro down to Woodbridge. We should be expanding the VRE, and I know that's being worked on, but we need to be working on it even more. We also need to be expanding broadband so that people can stay in our community, they can work in their homes, they can begin businesses right here, and they don't have to get on the roads. That's one of the ways that we also begin to address this issue, with traffic. It's important that we don't continue to spend money like we have been, $300 million that Virginia flushed down the drain. They flushed it down the toilet with the 460 bypass. Not a single spade of dirt was turned. That's not how we take care of our infrastructure in Virginia.
Transportation is clearly one of the most important issues that is with us, and it's been with us for some time. I'm proud of the leadership that I've been able to offer in trying to find transportation solutions. Ms. Hilliard's right. Hot lanes are not the only answer. No one ever proposed that they would be the only answer, but they're part of the solution. And in fact, 74% of the people that use the hot lanes like them. They're being well received and doing a good job. But let's talk about what we've done in the last couple of years in transportation. I think Virginia's sort of been ahead of any state in the country with what they've done. In 2013, we passed legislation, it was my bill, that for the first time in 28 years, increased funding for transportation. Bottom line is we get over $1 billion a year in new money for transportation. That's a direct result of a bill that I sponsored in 2013. In 2014, we passed, I think, landmark legislation which determines how that money is going to be spent in the most efficient way. And it goes through a system of metrics. And the roads that are going to be decided are going to be the ones that are truly going to ease congestion and increase safety. And then this year, we passed legislation that consolidated the money from about 8 different silos to 3. Bottom line is Stafford County gets about $22 million more a year in funding for transportation. It's bringing money back to the local government. So we've done a lot in Virginia to help with transportation. It's going to continue to be a problem, but because there's so many people. But who's standing up? My peripheral vision. We're going to continue to work and lead on things that we can do to make transportation better in Virginia.
Thank you. The next question is kind of one that maybe came to light for many of us just recently, heroin. It's a very scary word, not a word we thought we'd be talking about in Stafford. It's a problem that cuts across social and economic lines. Our county has a high overdose rate of deaths caused by heroin. So the question is, what can Richmond do to help Stafford protect its youth and its population against the onslaught of heroin as it comes into our county?
Richmond has already taken steps to address this really terrible problem. It's a scourge all across the country, but particularly in Virginia. And we have pretty tough laws in Virginia for people that traffic in heroin or any other illegal drug. And if you get caught, you're going to go away to prison for a good time. We have to do more in educating the kids that this is a very, very dangerous substance. And we have to, I think our Sheriff's Department has done an outstanding job on working with the community and trying to divert the sale of illegal substances in Virginia. I mean, in Stafford County, and I think that needs to continue. We need to do more with our law enforcement. We need to do more with education, and we have to have strong laws in effect that are going to punish the people that abuse these.
I look at this in a slightly different way. My children, my daughter has gone to school, my daughter who is 24. I know of at least 3 of the kids that she went to high school with who are dead because of heroin overdoses. We need to change the way that we are approaching this issue. We need to look at this as the public health crisis that it is. We need to be doing things like bringing that $227 million that would come into our state if we expanded Medicaid, and it would be used directly for mental health and for substance abuse services. We need these services in our local communities so that the children who are the most impacted by this are able to get the services that they need so they don't end up dead. We need to change the way that we're looking at this because obviously just having a law enforcement approach to this is not working. Our children are dying. We can do better with this.
Thank you. The next question came from a number of people. We've heard one candidate position already. We'll hear both. Medicaid expansion. Is it a good idea for Virginia? Some states have done it, some have not. There's reasons on both sides, and I think we're going to hear both sides of it tonight. So I think you're first on Medicaid.
Well, as you might suspect, I think we should expand Medicaid in Virginia. One of the things that it would do, it would bring $1.7 billion in services back to Virginia. We're talking $1.1 billion that would provide hospital care for the poor. The hospitals are already ACA ready. They're already prepared for this. The hospitals in our community are begging for us to expand Medicaid in Virginia. I think they have a pretty good idea of what our health needs are in our community. It would also bring $255 million in for hospital care of prisoners. Right now, our local governments pay for that. So the money that they collect from Stafford County goes to help pay for that care at the Rappahannock Regional Jail. I'd rather see that money going back to our schools. I already mentioned $227 million would go to substance abuse and mental health care. We have a real mental health care issue in our community. We need to be bringing it back to our local communities so that people in our community are getting the services that they require. It's going to require resources. It doesn't make sense to me that there are resources being left on the table that we have already paid for, and when we don't take that into Virginia, then we're paying for it twice because our premiums are going up. Not only are we not using money that's available, but our premiums are going up because all of us are helping to pay for people who don't have that health care insurance.
The existing Medicaid that we have in Virginia now is the fastest growing and the most expensive part of our general fund budget. We spend over about $4 billion a year in Virginia from our general fund, our 50% match of Medicaid. President Obama has described the existing Medicaid as a broken system, and indeed it is. It's got a lot of problems with it. And the thought of expanding a broken system and putting 400,000 more Virginians onto this system, to me, is just a false promise, because you're not going to be able to give them a service. People taking Medicaid now can't get to see a doctor. Less than 50% of physicians are taking new Medicaid patients. Who's going to take care of these 400 people? Let's look and see what's happened at the other states that have taken on Medicaid. Ohio faced a $1.5 billion shortfall in the first 18 months because of the expansion of Medicaid. Illinois is facing an $800 million shortfall because of the expansion of Medicaid. Kentucky is looking at having to add over $2 billion to their biannual budget because of the expansion of Medicaid. It just doesn't work out like it's supposed to. What we need to do, we need to improve the economy so that more people have jobs and don't have to worry about it. We need to find a solution to the problems with Medicaid, and we need to continue to add to the safety net that we're already doing. Last year, we put about $150 million into mental health care, home free clinics, and community health services.
Thank you. The next area is education. There's a lot of topics that both candidates can touch on: teachers' salaries, vouchers, charter schools, private schools, the role of the local government versus the role of Richmond in education. So the next question is education. Mr. Speaker, first.
That's a pretty broad question. K through 12 education in Virginia. Virginia ranks in the top 10 of all the states in the union in the quality of their K through 12 education. Our ACT scores and SAT scores are above average, way above average. Virginia has one of the highest rates of students that pass AP tests. We're doing well. We can always do better, though. We need to look at classroom size, particularly in fast-growing areas like Stafford. We need to continue to look at teacher salaries. Although over the past 3 years, we've raised teacher salaries twice, and we continue to be concerned about that. Higher education is a serious problem. Higher education is getting out of affordability for so many people, particularly in the middle class. We have, I think, a world-class system of higher education in Virginia. I match Virginia's universities against any state in the union, but they're just becoming, as all colleges and universities across the country are, too expensive for the average person. We need to look at new ways of funding these higher education. We need to look at ways that we can get rid of some of the waste. We need to look at more virtual learning. We need to look at more learning online. So there's a lot of things we can do with K-12. Virginia has a good system of K-12 and a good system of higher education, but we can certainly do things to continue to improve it.
When we talk about teacher pay, it's important to be aware that while there have been some raises, in 2014 we gave teachers a 1% pay increase. Employees now have to pay 3% to VRS. That sounds like less money in their pockets at the end. For 2015 through 2016, it's proposed that they will get a 2.5% raise. Employees are going to be asked to pay 4% to VRS. That doesn't sound like an increase in pay to me. So what we have in Stafford County, we have teachers that are taking home less pay, so they're not staying here. We have teachers leaving in droves. And so you have a bunch of very inexperienced teachers, and that's not to say that they don't work hard and try to do a good job, but we're asking an awful lot when their class sizes continue to grow. When we look at teacher pay, it's important to begin to treat teachers as the professionals that they are. And I don't think we have done that for a long time, because we've continued to undervalue them and not actually pay them what they're worth. We can do better.
Thank you. The next question has been in the news. It's often in the news. Gun legislation. Do we need new gun laws? Do we need to change gun laws? Do we have too many? Do we need different policies in schools and gun-free zones? Do we need a gun-free state? Do we need to arm all our citizens? Pretty open-ended, but I want to hear positions on the Second Amendment, gun legislation, and what Richmond should do in this area. Ms. Hilliard, you're first.
All right, let me start out by saying my husband is an avid hunter. We have always had guns in our home. We don't treat guns as toys ever. We've always had a lot of gun safety training, and that's critical, I think, for anybody who has a gun in their home. I'm also the mother of a student. My son was at Virginia Tech the year that massacre occurred, and I'm very thankful that he came home. We have got to address this issue of gun safety in our communities. The idea that we have not passed very basic gun safety laws that encourage universal background checks, that close that gun show loophole, I don't understand. I think our citizens need to be safe. There was legislation introduced last year that if somebody if there was a protective order gotten out for somebody who had been abused or was afraid in their homes, that the guns would be taken out while it was adjudicated, and that the General Assembly said no thanks, we're not interested in doing that. And yet most of the murders that occur are done by somebody that people know. The victims they usually know the person that kills them. I think we can do so much better. Thank you.
I believe Virginia has a good set of gun laws, and the problem is people don't follow the law. It's interesting that if you look at some of these recent tragedies across the country, these mass murders like in Oregon and at Virginia Tech and the different places where we've had multiple shootings, every single one of those perpetrators had guns that had been bought legally, and they had passed background checks. The problem isn't background checks or lack thereof. The problem isn't laws. The problem, it's a mental health issue with a lot of people. And we really need to put more money into mental health so we can decide what is wrong with this thing. Creating gun-free zones doesn't do a lot of good. It just tells the bad guy that nobody in the school is going to have a gun to defend himself. I think that we have a lot of people out there that have a lot of problems, and Ms. Hilliard's right. We need to continue to do what we've been doing in Virginia, increasing the amount of money for mental health services. We've done a good job in Virginia in increasing that over $175 million over the last 2 years. We need to continue to work on it.
Thank you. So we've been through 5 of our 6 questions tonight. I think the audience has a pretty good idea of where our candidates stand and what they want to do in Richmond. The last question is, how will you get it done? Why are you qualified to get this done? How will you move your agenda that you've described to us tonight forward? And first is Mr. Howell.
That's a great question. I've been down there 28 years, and I've been able to accomplish a lot. I think one reason is I'm in the majority. My caucus is the majority caucus. As I mentioned earlier, I'm Speaker of the House. I think I can get things done. The transportation bill that we passed in 2013 was very difficult. It was a bipartisan effort. Would not have passed if I just counted on my caucus to help it. But I was able to work across party lines and get both people to come forward. And we have this bill, which I think has done a lot for Virginia. So I think I have the leadership. I think I have the skills. I think I know the people. I think I know how the game's played in order to be successful in promoting what I think is best for Stafford County, Fredericksburg City, and the Commonwealth of Virginia.
I believe that this election is about looking toward our future. I believe that 28 years in one place is a long time. And I believe that the things that we have, if we want more of the same, we'll certainly get more of the same if we keep Mr. Howell in office. I think it's important that we establish a long-term vision about where we want to go and what kind of state we want to live in. Do we want to live in a state that the traffic continues to just bottleneck and slow down? People in our community, it affects the quality of their lives. Do we want to live in a state where all citizens are represented, where everybody has a voice and a place at the table? Then I think we need to change what we have in Richmond right now. Because I think that there are an awful lot of folks who don't have a say or a place at that table. If you have a lot of money, if you're a big business, if you are a special interest, there's a place. But if you're a common citizen, one of the people who live in our community, I don't think that you're as well represented. I'd like to go to Richmond. I'd like to stand up and speak on your behalf. I'd like to say that I will go down there and I will speak. If you like what I say or you don't like what I will still speak up because I think that's important. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll have 2-minute closing statements from each of the candidates. When you're done, did you plan on sticking around a little bit? Do you want to meet some people in the lobby, or do your schedules demand that you leave right away? So if that's the case, when they're done, we'll take about 5 minutes to kind of reconfigure the room for the next race, and then maybe if you have a one-on-one question for Mr. Howell or Ms. Hilliard, you could ask in the lobby. If you're only interested in the 28th race, that would be a time for you to go home and cook dinner for your family, because I know a lot of you maybe haven't. So I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Hilliard for your closing statement.
First of all, let me thank the Stafford NAACP. I think that this sort of an event really is important, and I think it really does help the community get a sense of who we are as candidates, and I think that this sort of thing is really important. I've been on the other end of this as a volunteer helping get things set up. I think I was actually the timekeeper, so thank you for doing that. I know it can be a bit of a thankless job. I know that there's a lot of coordination that goes in, so again, it's very much appreciated that as an organization you guys take this on. It's been a pleasure to have the chance to talk about these issues with all of you and with Mr. Howell. For me, this election really is about our future. Stafford County has changed dramatically in the 4 decades that I have lived here, and I'm sure the same for Mr. Howell. We need long-range planning to decide on the community that we want our Commonwealth to be, what we want it to look like in the future. I believe that every one of us have a stake in this, and each of us should have a say in it as well, in establishing a vision for what our future looks like. I want to go to Richmond and champion the needs of the people of the 28th District. Our community is diverse, and that diversity brings a wide range of talents and perspectives. I know that working together, we can tackle some of our greatest challenges and build a community that is more prosperous for every single one of us. I ask for your vote in November so that we can build a future together. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much for being here this evening. I've enjoyed the opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the issues and some of the concerns that I see. And we do indeed have issues in front of us that need to be addressed. Sequestration is playing havoc with our budget. There are a lot of future potential liabilities that are piling up in the retirement system, things like that that need to be addressed, but they can be addressed. And I think I've shown over the past years that working together with my people on my side of the aisle and people on the other side of the aisle, we've been able to accomplish a lot in Virginia. Virginia ranks very high in an awful lot of categories. That's because we've had good government, good governors, Republican and Democrat, good legislatures run by the Democrats and the Republicans. And I want to continue that. I think I can continue to serve the people of Stafford and the people of the 28th District. I look forward to working with you, and thank you, and I hope I'll have your vote on November 3rd. Thanks.